Hey, what's going on, everybody? Welcome, welcome. Hopefully you are doing well, and hopefully you can hear me. I need to double check my live stream here, but I'm about 10 seconds behind on my phone, so we will check that in a second. Let's go ahead and see who's in the chat. Of course, Randy, first and foremost. Hello from Winnipeg. Hey, how's it going, fellow Canadian? Happy Canada Day. It was just a couple of days ago on July the 1st. Of course, there's another celebration happening here in the United States tomorrow, but it kind of goes for like 5 or 6 days, depending. Everybody doesn't want to do their fireworks on the same night. They want to create traffic jams on multiple days. And so, it's been like a 4th of July week. And thankfully, normally fireworks happen then on the 1st of July here in the States because everybody's trying to spread them out. Now, I haven't gotten to see fireworks yet, but after today's show, I'm headed out to Ohio with my family to visit my in-laws, and then they're doing fireworks on the 5th, their town. So we're going to stay. This is going to be insane, but we're going to stay for fireworks on Saturday, and then I'm going to drive through the night and try and get back for Sunday morning. And I better, because we don't have any options. So I got to get back for Sunday morning, and then do work on Sunday, and then crash on Sunday afternoon and Monday. So here's hoping that the only crashing I'm doing is sleeping in my bed on Sunday afternoon. Hey, there's no one here but us chickens and geese. Good stuff. Thanks for the shout out to the Canadian geese, Thunder Chickens. It's true. Hey, it sounds good. Great. I did put a tiny bit of compression on this today just because I felt like it was getting a little too hot, but you can tell me in the chat how it sounds. Here we go. Now I can obviously check mine. Okay, cool. And that sounds pretty good. So big fan of that. Give me a thumbs up there in the, not in the chat, but on the YouTube stream if you'd like. And we'll pad those stats. Good morning, Angus. How's it going? Hopefully you're doing well. Hey, great shirt. Hey, thank you. Yeah, this is an oldie but a goodie. Good old Millennium Falcon, like blueprints, basically. So it's a good one. I like it a lot. And I get a lot of comments on it. So that's why I wear it. Just like Angus commenting right now. Hey, it sounds good here. The fireworks started here May 5th and won't stop until later this month because of reasons. Tried to get that. Sorry. Because of reasons. Yeah, I mean, it's funny because here in the States, so back it up. In Canada, when I was growing up, there weren't like many places to buy fireworks, and you weren't really supposed to have them, especially in Ontario. You had to like get a license to do them, and it was crazy. So we never really, it was just cities that did shows. Toronto, where I grew up, Brampton had some. But there weren't really a lot of fireworks shows here, especially in Tennessee, but in Michigan, when I, lived there for 15 years, man, it's like everybody and their uncle had fireworks going off in their backyard. And then there were also county shows, city shows, anyway, it was wild. So it is the month of traffic jams. It's been like a month and a half of traffic jams, especially if you're out in the evening. I'm really hoping that July 5th, when we leave Ohio and get on the highway, which is 75 southbound, basically, I hope that we will not see anybody and we'll be pretty much the only ones on the road all night. I won't be back here until 4 or 5 o'clock in the morning, which means that I'm probably only going to get an hour and a half of sleep that night, and then back up to function again for another 6 or 7 hours, and then hopefully fall asleep that afternoon. So here's hoping that everything goes well and it goes according to plan. I'm gonna have to figure out how to sleep on Saturday afternoon somewhere because I'm gonna need to rest a little bit because we're driving today, which is gonna be 6 or 7 hours, so it'll be a doozy. Oh, I could give you an update, however, on the performance of my little hotspot that I had. So I'm back from Virginia. Last week, you may recall, there was no show. And that is because my family and I took a trip out to Virginia. Now, the week before that, we had company over, and you may recall from that show that, we had kids playing in the house and whatever and having a good time. And that was great. We also had a couple little projects that we had to handle My friend's car needed an alternator replaced, and they were going to ask him for like $1,500 to do that, and that's ridiculous. So we found out why it cost that much, but we actually only had to pay $350 plus a few tools to get it swapped out. Now, I say that all as if it was not a big deal. It took us like 4 days, but we saved a lot of money doing that, and had some good camaraderie. So we slugged it out. It was incredibly hot, and my buddy Ralph really made it happen. So it was great. I was away on Friday doing Pantograph stuff, and then when I came back, he had like most of it done. We had worked a couple of days. Long story short, you have to take it out through the wheel well, and you have to like finagle it, get it out perfectly, and whatever. It was wild. So got a new one in. Had to redo the belt. Bought a new belt. It was crazy, but he made it home. His vehicle died while he was pulling into my driveway, so I had to replace it, and we didn't really want to pay $1,500, so we probably ended up closer to $500. But hey, that's a lot of money saved. So, and then he drove out to Eastern Tennessee to visit family, and then he drove home. So him and his family and kids and everything. So they had a successful trip. I hope that alternator serves him well for the next 100,000 miles. Anyway, then after that, on Sunday morning they were leaving here, and of course I was off to work Sunday morning, so me and my family went into Brentwood, ran last week's, 2 weeks ago now, service, and then got in our car, had lunch with our church family, and then drove out east. And the first stop was Gatlinburg, Tennessee, which was beautiful. And so I could share just a smidge of that. However, just let me jump in here with Angus. Doing great over here, off for a pre-show site survey in a bit, so I won't be here for the whole show. That's all right. This show is going to be condensed because I got to hit the road again. So we will go from there. Hey, what is Pantograph stuff? So real quick before I recap the trip from Virginia and then get into Pantograph. The Pantograph is a motorized DMX controlled lift system for lights, usually because it's DMX. But it is literally a motor turn on and off, and then gives you the option to lift things up and down. Now, if you've ever watched the Bird Dog, I think it's like a German conference center or a lecture hall or something. It's like quite a famous lecture hall. Anyways, they installed pantographs with their bird dogs, and that's the first time I ever saw that happen. And then we went to NAB, and we saw them there again, and I thought, man, this would be great to add to our hardware. So let's get into that in just a second. Let me just recall here some photos from our trip. So, of course, first stop, regrettably, was Buc-ee's, and that was last Sunday, and insane. This place was like shoulder-to-shoulder people. We went in to use the restroom, and that was it. We did not shop or anything because you got to be crazy to shop in there. So drove through Knoxville to get into Gatlinburg, had a nice little scenic drive through Gatlinburg, and then our first day there, we just went for a walk, and whoa, my logo's over my face, sorry. Went for a little walk, and downtown, of course, that's the Gatlinburg Space Needle. They stole that from Seattle, which is hilarious, but little Gatlinburg Space Needle, and just had a great evening. Now, we found out, I purposefully booked this hotel because it kind of had like a mini water park inside, and so that was really great. The kids were excited about that, so we checked that out. That was pretty great. Had 3 slides. Wasn't super busy all the time, and the kids really had a good time. I had a good time too. Slides were kind of fun, and there was no age limit on there. So the next morning we woke up and went into the Smoky Mountains National Park, and that was great. We got to see all sorts of stuff. Things that might interest you guys. Of course, we really went to like walk, because walking is what you do in a national park. So we went for a walk, and that was great. We did find this parking was limited. The place is like hundreds of acres, right, of forest, but the place was very limited. So limited in parking. So we drove and drove and drove and drove, tried to find a parking spot. We eventually did. We gave up on any hopes of finding, or getting to the thing we wanted to do, and just resorted to anything available. So we found the Baskins Creek Trail, which is a really nice 2.5-3 mile trek. However, last week you may have noticed that there was a massive heat wave on the East Coast, and I don't know about the rest of the country, but it was over 100 degree every day. So that was insane. And so we went for a walk in the morning, came out mid-afternoon, did lunch, dinner. Our kids were falling asleep at the table. A matter of fact, here is a photo of my son with his dinner. He is sleeping on my wife's lap because he's so tired. So yeah, he did not survive very long. He didn't survive the whole day, but he put up with a lot, and that was pretty great. And then of course we went to the water park afterwards, and that was great. They had one of those big buckets that dropped on your head. So here I am waiting for that to happen. Got to beat the heat somehow. So yeah, we spent part of the afternoon then in the water slides, and then went out again in the evening when it was a fair bit cooler. And downtown Gatlinburg is pretty great. It's full of it's how did I say it? I said Gatlinburg is like a family appropriate Las Vegas, with the lights and the sounds and the all the things to look at. So like this, like you can walk up and down this strip and go into all the stores and see all the things, and it's quite a pleasant place to be. So hey, if you live somewhere in the east and you've never been to Gatlinburg, it is always busy. So just know that. We were like, we wonder what the off season was, and then we tried to Google that, and Google just laughed at us. So there's not really an off season. After Gatlinburg, so on Tuesday we drove all the way then to Williamsburg, and so Williamsburg, Virginia is quite a historical town. It's known as Colonial Williamsburg. There's actually a Pioneer Village style colonial Williamsburg place there, and that's what we went to do. We went to be there for the day, and it was 110 degrees. So a lot of the things that are normally outside that would be demonstrations and all that stuff, none of that was happening. So much so that Williamsburg emailed me afterwards and said, hey, we know you had a crazy hot day and most everything was closed. Come back free on us sometime this year, and we'll give you free tickets to come back in. So we're trying to figure out if that's in the cards, if we fly out there for a few days and get a rental and then just go and see it again. That would be cool, but cooler for sure, because we definitely were very warm. But I did take a couple of photos, and I took lots of pictures actually. And we enjoyed our day there. I mean, it was extremely hot. Most of the buildings are now air conditioned because they're trying to preserve the things inside, and you can't have extreme heat and preserve things. So this was like part of the demonstration, air conditioned building, which was very nice. A nice break from the heat, but very much so. Some demonstrations happened, and they did a really good job for it being crazy hot. So Colonial Williamsburg, lots of museums, lots of stories there that I won't go into. The next day, we went to the beach, and this was in like Norfolk area. So actually, like what's it called? Newport News. So that was pretty fun. Our kids had never swam in the ocean. We have swam in several places, but like the actual ocean, they had not done. We didn't take a lot of photos at the ocean. We let me scroll back here real quick and see. Yeah, it's weird. These are all out of order for some reason. But anyways, we didn't take a whole lot of photos at the ocean. We were busy. But then after that, we were having a lot of fun. And we ended up thinking about doing something after. My wife had actually purchased tickets to something that the aquarium in Virginia was doing, the Virginian Aquarium. And we were sitting on the beach, and we came back up to our stuff to get more sunscreen, and I looked at the time, and it was time to leave. And I meant like getting in the car now. So, you know that scene from Home Alone, both of them, when the parents wake up and they say, "We slept in," and then the music is like, that was us on the beach getting back to the car. And so the kids didn't really have time to get upset that we had to leave right away, but we promised them that we were going to try and do something else fun. So what we did was got in the car, drove for an hour through crazy traffic, got there 15 minutes before the deadline, and we went dolphin watching. And so this was along Virginia Beach from the Virginian Aquarium. So if you've ever been out there, they have a really cool aquarium right on the coast. We didn't go into the aquarium because that would have doubled the price, but we did get on a boat, which was kind of like a large ferry, and went out, and the lady commentated the entire time, and we had a good time watching watching the dolphins slap the water. So I guess it's like a feeding practice, and it's pretty much guaranteed you're going to see dolphins. And so if I just cut over here, this was our watercraft that we got on, and basically you can walk around the whole thing. You couldn't go upstairs, but you could walk around the whole thing. So half of it was always in the shade, which was nice. And we were able to go out dolphin watching. So here is a shot of us hanging out, looking for dolphins, and me trying to take some pictures. We had all come from the beach, and so we're still in our swimsuits. But yeah, had a really good time out there. We did see dolphins, and we rode the waves, which was fun. And after that excursion, we got in the car and drove for a couple of hours to Charlottesville, Virginia, which is closer to a national park known as Shenandoah. Now, Shenandoah is beautiful, not as crowded as the Great Smoky Mountains, but obviously not as well taken care of as Great Smoky Mountains as well. So limited staff, limited like welcome centers. You actually have to go to the middle of the park to get to one. But we had a really fun time. Now, it was quite smoky in the Smoky Mountains. These are actually the Blue Ridge Mountains, but very much so having fog roll in and out, which was fun. We didn't mind that at all, but we got to see a lot of cool like waterfalls, and we actually got to go to the ones that we go on, the hikes that we wanted to go on. And so this was a more like easier day. We definitely didn't have to exert the same amount of energy that we did for Great Smoky Mountains, and it was not the same temperature, which was great. It was a lot nicer. We did eventually get to one of the big trails is the Stony Man, which is the highest point, the highest summit that you can hike to inside Shenandoah. And so I went and took my 360 camera, which is right here, and went to that top of that summit and took some videos and some 360 pictures so that we could remember those moments. But this was like really high. Like I think it's 3,600 feet that you can basically walk right out to the edge and check out. So here I am taking some photos over the edge of that cliff, and it is a pretty significant drop from there. Of course, I would love to share with you those 360 pictures, but we may have to figure out how to do that another time. And then we, took some pictures up there and then walked back down, got in our car, went to dinner, and then drove to, what's it called? Roanoke, Virginia. And that's a really nice town. We just wanted to stay overnight, went for a swim, and then crashed and headed for home, which was about 7 hours away, plus stops and gas and all that. My wife did find a place with actually a taller waterfall on our way home through Tennessee. And so we did stop in Tennessee and saw yet another waterfall. This one's called the Ozone Falls, and it's 110 feet, and people swim at the base of that waterfall. So that's kind of a cool thing that we did not go swimming because we were trying to get home. So, and then we headed for home, and we did actually make it home then on Saturday. So that's a whole week, and we had a lot of it packed, and we got home, and our friends who had left our house after we did on Sunday actually cleaned our house, that's the nature of my wife's best friend, is that she does that. which was super generous. And we got home and the house was super clean, and that felt really good. So we had quite the week, and it wasn't a vacation. It wasn't like, did you have fun resting? We weren't putting our feet up. We were doing activities every single day. And so that was busy, to say the least. All right, let me just catch up on the chat. Hey, this sounds like a painful job. Our 2005 Suburban takes about 10 minutes for an alternator swap. See, those are the good old days. I had a 2003 Ford Explorer, you know, the truck frame, the last years for the truck frame ones. And yeah, the alternator was like right on top. It was 2 bolts, and you take the belt off, you take the alternator out, you put the new one in, you put the new belt on. I did it in a parking lot of a shopping center, and it was amazing. It was like, I really felt, I felt good about that swap. And this thing was hidden. And same thing on my truck now. It's like way underneath. It's silly. Oh yes, that sounds like a neat video. I'm assuming you mean the 360 over Shenandoah Stony Man? I agree. Good morning, Zach. How are you? Hopefully you're doing well. And it makes things go up and down. Thanks, Chad. That's a great Reader's Digest for those of you who don't want to stay for the show. Yes, a Pantograph makes things go up and down. It's motorized. You can also get manual ones that, you know, you can just get like a hook and you can pull it down. But it's basically an accordion style thing. Okay, well, let's get into it then, since that's what you're here for. So we purchased a SWIT, S-W-I-T, Pantograph. If you looked at the title of today's show, it is the GA-PT30E, which is usually they're not sold in the US for some reason. And so we ordered it through Europe and found out the hard way that duties and taxes and tariffs are not kind. So we ended up paying, in the end, about $1,500 for it. The actual product itself is only $1,000 US, but all that extra stuff ended up costing more. So it was back ordered, and then it was shipped to us. It actually shipped out of China, not out of Europe, but we purchased it through Europe. Yeah, it was crazy. So the Pantograph is basic. Let me actually pull up the website for it, because you should see. Now, we ordered it through Essential Photo and Video, and I think I showed this to you guys last time. We ordered it here. See, it's a 1021. This is the unit we ordered, and it's a fairly basic concept. You know, it's a motorized accordion style lift that allows you to put lights. The real purpose for it is lighting, but allows you to put lights, or in our case, a camera, in a specific location, but not necessarily leave it there all the time. The motor gives you a chance to put it up to the ceiling and get it out of the way. There is a bird dog video that was like a bird dog story that shows a guy using 2 of these, and he just hits a switch on his DMX mixer and it comes down. More on that in a second. But this unit is the exact one we purchased. This load says 30 kilograms on it. Ours is like 26 or something like that. Now, it doesn't really make any difference. It's still pretty significant for lifting equipment. And our PTZ camera that's currently on here is not anywhere close to that. So we're totally fine there in terms of its ability to lift. The little actuator motor is not really that loud, which is what you want, especially if you're going to end up using this in some sort of live production. You may want to move that camera up and down into a better position once your production starts. Matter of fact, that is my concept, is I would like to be able to use this camera. I want kind of like our production to start, and then I want to be able to put this camera in different locations and height-wise, and that way it gives me a lot more variety in terms of shots without me needing a camera guy to go and adjust it. So that's why you put a PTZ on something like this, so that as you move it down, then you can adjust the frame and where the camera is shooting. That is something I'm kind of excited about. So being DMX controllable is a neat idea. I agree. And again, more on that in a hot second. So let me share this now. So here we are installing this unit into the ceiling. It's a little bit hard to see. This is quite a big ladder. I think it's like a 22-foot ladder. And so our ceilings, oh, that's not true. Whoops. That's not true. It's a 16-foot ladder because the ceilings are 16 or 18 feet or something. So here we are installing this between two trusses in the ceiling. Sorry about the logo. I need to figure out a way to turn that off. And, you know, fairly basic unit. What's nice on this is on the backside of this unit, there is, let me see, are there more pictures here? Yeah, on the backside of this unit, there are these like cable ties and clips and stuff. And so what you do is you run your power cables and your SDI cables or whatever it is you need in through these, and you just zip them in. And then as the accordion goes up and down, it keeps all those cables nice and tidy. And what's really neat is I've got 3 cables tied onto here. I've got power for the camera. Excuse me. I've got Ethernet for the camera for control, and I've got SDI for video. So what I did was I did it nice and neat. I should have taken a picture of this. Nice and neat, where I put the 2 black cables on the back and that blue SDI cable in between them, kind of in the middle. And so it looks very orderly, like back and forth, this blue cable on top of these 2 black cables. And so if anybody ever looks at it, and it's mounted facing away from the screen. So if we go back to this photo, or from the stage, so if we go back to this photo, my stage is that way, like is beyond this ladder. And you'll notice the front of this pantograph is positioned, like the LCD is facing the back of the auditorium. So that's a way that I can see if it's communicating with the DMX. Again, more on that in a hot second. So I've mounted it that way so people aren't actually going to see these cables. They'll be sitting under it or behind it. So they're not actually going to see the cables. But if they ever are, if they go to the front row and then they turn around and they look at it, it'll look very orderly and proper. So that is that's good stuff. So this little guy is, here are those connections, by the way. So you have power, which is a new style of power for me. I actually haven't ever used this before. But you have to power this unit, and then you have to power the camera. And what else do I have up there that requires power? There's 2 or 3 things that require power. But anyways, this needs power. So you can actually order this cable that you need just on Amazon. It's like less than $10. The power for this, though, is called, and you guys are probably, PowerCon True 1 is what this is called. Now, I was thinking this was going to be like Speak-On style power that power all the other DMX lighting fixtures in here. Not true. This is actually a different style power than the traditional lighting power, which from what I can tell is just like the next level of that Speak-On style power connection. So whatever, it's fine. We just ran 110 to that spot, and then we plugged in the power cable there and ran it into this unit, and it powers it just fine, no issues. So you can buy that unit. Matter of fact, I can show you that because I did save it. But it is called the True 1 cable, and it looks like this. So this is that True 1, like little, we just bought a little 5-footer, and that's different than the Speak-On version. Now, some of them will say in here, you know, Speak-On, yada, 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 like that's the brand. But you need the PowerCon True cable, True 1 cable, in order for it to work correctly. And then, it just plugs into 110. So here in the States, that is what we require. Anyway, so this was that unit, and it did not come with any clamps or anything. We actually built a custom mount for it with bolts that go through a piece of wood that we spray painted black so it would match the ceiling, and then we snugly fit it in there and screwed it into the joists. And so this looks like it's floating actually, but this is between these 2 joists, and then we've got screws here that we've also painted and covered up so that it just kind of floats there and doesn't look like anything. So that was pretty good install. We took one day last week, Monday I think, 2 weeks ago, and installed it, and then on Friday we went over and I reran all the power and everything and got it all kind of zipped down. My coworker was also there, and he what's going on here? He also assisted, which was great because it makes a big difference if you have 2 people there, one guy to make sure you got all the things, and the other guy to actually do the lifting and the work and all that. So if you're going to buy one, I strongly recommend that you have a friend to help you install it. Now, once it was installed, we connected power and all of that, and then it was on me to get it to work. Now, here is kind of the beginning of the problems. Where is the photo here? I took a couple of pictures just so that, yes. So to show you size compared to me, since you're looking at me here, the unit is actually fairly large. Like, it's not a small unit, especially when it's fully extended. It can go down. You can buy various sizes. One of them is like a 30-footer. One of them is 16 feet. I think you can buy even a bigger one than 30, depending on your ceiling height. I think this one is the 16, if I'm not mistaken, but maybe the 30 in the description might be the 30 feet. I can't remember. But we only go down 16 feet or something like that. 3 meters. A range of up to 3 meters is what that is. So that's only like, 9 or 10 feet, which works just fine for us because we really don't need it to go that much further. Our ceilings are not that high. And where I want the camera is actually eye level with whoever's on stage. So my hope is one day to upgrade this PTZ camera to something that does like AI. Canon has some great options. I haven't really been able to give BirdDog a good chance on that, and so I don't know if their auto follow is trustworthy, but on their new line, because I left before that new line came out. But I did witness at NAB the Canon line, and they seem to be quite robust in terms of being able to track and stay on a single person, even with other people on stage. That was kind of a big key for me, is I wanted to be able to lock onto somebody. But anyway, so one day we hope to upgrade this camera. But for now, we just ran Ethernet, power, and SDI and plugged it all into a camera that hangs on the bottom of this. And then I can manually control it. And the goal here is on Sunday, we just left it. We just put it in position and left it. And was able to get a couple of nice little shots that look like this. And so if I just play this video, we're going to go to cam 3, which is where that cam is now. And this is that shot. And so it's a lot closer, and it gives me the ability to do nice tight shots into our instruments. And we don't stay here long, but we definitely use that now as a nice tight instrument, where we used to have to use cam 2, which has a really big lens on it, which also worked really good. But this shows the whole neck of the instrument, shows everything. And that was kind of a handy way to do that. So I really like that angle. I think that works pretty well. But anyways, it's good stuff. So cam 3 now gives us this angle. Now, it was a little high it was a little too high for shooting the subject on stage. So our minister, it didn't look right, and I needed it to be a little lower. So now let's transition to the problems. First of all, I like the unit. I think it's going to work really well. I really like the way that it functions, and that we're going to be able to hide our cameras in the ceilings when we don't need them. It's going to work really well. The issues that I had with it. Well, first of all, no instructions with this unit. In typical manufacturing fashion, the unit came with very limited instructions. And if you look online for the user manual, it is also extremely limited. In particular, the DMX function of this camera. I am not able to get the DMX function to work. And it may be the software that I'm using. It may be the unit itself. It may be the wiring. I don't know. I haven't been able to figure it out. Now, I've opened multiple support tickets, one with Essential Photo and Video, one with SWIT themselves in China, and another one with LightKey. LightKey responded right away and said, hey, we don't have a profile on this unit, but if you can get us the DMX command list, like the actual commands, then we will happily write you a module and send it to you and add it to our library. That was pretty cool. That's pretty good customer service, if you ask me. I like the idea of them being like, yeah, let's add it. Let's get it done. Just send us the list and we'll do it for you. Excellent. Sounds good. So then I reached out to SWIT and they said, hey, who did you buy this through? We'll get in touch with them and they'll send you the information. I said, okay, cool. Well, I'm already in touch with them. It's Essential Photo and Video. And they should be reaching out because Essential Photo and Video got back to me a couple of days later while I was traveling through Gatlinburg. And they said, yep, we don't have the command list, but we'll reach out to the manufacturer and find out if they can provide it. So I said, well, look for an email from them, from me, because they said that they'd be reaching out to you. So then I got an email back that said, here's the PDF manual, which was the one that I had already found online. And it does not say anything about what the commands are for the unit. Then I got another email back from Essential Photo and Video and said, here's what SWIT said. They basically said, well, actually, and I should pull it up so that I can be accurate in this. This email. So and I think I left these open. Light key. Hi, John. I just received this response from the manufacturer. According to your customer's feedback, the Pantograph in his hand is a 3 DMX channel version. The first channel is the unlocking channel. Your customer needs to set this DMX channel with 0 to 255 range of value to 100 for unlocking. Then the second and third channel can be adjusted for lifting and lowering. Hope this helps. So that doesn't really help. Yeah, it doesn't really help. But I will send that over to Lightkey and see if it makes sense or if that's what they're looking for. The question is, did I send it to Lightkey already? Because I feel like I already did, but maybe not. No, it does not look like I did. So I'm going to send that on. So when we watched the demonstration at NAB, the guy had 3 channels. It didn't really look like he knew much about it, mostly because he was a lighting company and not from SWIT or selling the Pantograph. We had questions about... Sorry, I'm going to lock this seat because it's squeaking like crazy. We had questions about the Pantograph, and he did not know anything about it. So we kind of went rogue and had him demonstrate it for us, but we weren't really getting any answers out of that lighting company. They were just using SWIT Pantographs so that they could show the light, but then they could bring it down and people could look at the light. So that's cute. We were interested in the lift, not in the lights. And what was hilarious in good NAB sales fashion is they still tried to sell us lights. And we were not interested in lights. We told them, actually, we want to see the Pantograph. And they were like, yeah, that light is 1,000. I was like, stop. We're not interested in lights. We're interested in the Pantograph. And he didn't know what to do with it. And we ended up talking about 4 salesmen who all tried to push brochures about lighting into our hands. So, sidebar, if you're going to NAB and you're going to have equipment there, please have people who know something about all the equipment you have there. If you have to hunt around for, this is my same complaint about Blackmagic, by the way. If you have to hunt around and ask people about your product line or the products that you have on the floor and you don't know anything about them, that's going to be frustrating for the people that are trying to find out stuff about the products. So it was a little bit maddening that they didn't know anything about it, but whatever. Anyway, we watched the demonstration of how he used the Pantograph. He actually was able to manipulate it. And what we determined at that point was it was a 3-channel DMX, 3-channel DMX command. One was to turn on the Pantograph, which I think is weird, but it actually is true for lighting as well. Lights, if they're 3 channels, the first one is power, right? So on, off. They're calling it locking or unlocking, but it was power. Which power is always on, but it's basically enabling or disabling the light. Okay, so in this instance, enabling the Pantograph. Channel 2 is an up command, which I think is odd. That channel 2 is up when the first function is you have to lower it. So shouldn't channel 2 be down? But channel 2 is up. So what you do there is you turn up channel 1 and then you turn up channel 3. and then the pantograph will start to lower. And then when you pull it down, it stops it. And then when you put up channel 2, then it will raise it back up. Now that's cool. However, the guys at the show floor that were showing these lights were actually using a 2-channel mode on it, which means that it would be unlock channel 1, and then it was up, off, down, off on channel 2. So kind of like melted my brain a little bit. But it seemed like they hadn't programmed the board correctly. When we asked when I looked through all the documentation, all of that stuff, it says add the DMX device to channel 1. Then channel 1 is unlock and lock. Channel 2 is up and stop. And channel 3 is down and stop. Okay. So far, so good. However, there's obviously not and it's just a basic light, a basic 3-mode DMX light is all it is. I could not for the life of me get Light Key to talk to it. Now, you may have noticed on the back of this unit, there is a 3-pin. No. On the back of this unit, on this picture, there is a 3-pin DMX 512. On the one that we got, it's a 5-pin. Now, that's not typically an issue because with DMX, your 3 channels are basically pins 1, 2, and 3. So 3 pins, 1, 2, and 3. You just have to have the right cable to go from 3-pin to 5-pin. And so we're going out of our lights as 3-pin and into our lights as into this unit as 5-pin. So you got to get the right little cable converter. Now there is a chance that if you buy a cheap cable, it'll be wrong. Those will be wrong. However, we bought a good quality one. We bought one from Cable Matters, and they usually do pretty good stuff. So I'm not thinking that our problem is that. I also note, and now we're going to get into the troubleshooting of this. I also want to note that when I turn off Light Key, shut the program down, and restart it, the Pantograph LCD screen turns on, like I'm getting communication from something. Okay, so I think the DMX cable is fine. However, sending it commands digitally does not seem to be working. So I'm not entirely sure what my problem is, but I do have issues with Light Key talking to it. So the next step is you could do one of two things. I've got tickets open, but I think the next logical step is to find a DMX board, which we do have some, and send it just a raw command from the board and see what happens, because the lighting board that we have right now at the soundstage is not being used. So we could just plug it in directly to the lighting board and see if a manual, if manually it works. Now, of course, I don't have the DMX channel scheduled on channel 1. I have it scheduled on its own channel, and I set that on the Pantograph. So in the Pantograph menu, you can say, what channel do you want to start on? And so I believe I'm starting on channel 24 on that one, which is fine. But still nothing. Now, I'm almost out of channels in Light Key because I'm using a free version because we don't have that many lights. One option that I'm thinking about doing, and tell me if I'm crazy, is to set all my lights to the same channel because they are all identical. They're all the same light. They all have different white modes available, but I want them all to behave the exact same way. So if I set all the lights to DMX channel 1, okay, and there's like 8 or 9 of them, if I set them all to DMX channel 1 and then I change inside Light Key just one light fixture, they're all the same. They would all behave the same, and that should work. That shouldn't be an issue because they'd all read DMX 1, 2, and 3. I think it's actually 4 channels. So 1 through 4 would be for our standard white lighting. And then I could move the Pantograph then to 5. And that would be well within the range. Now, in Light Key, you only get free 24 channels. But I'm able to free up some channels because technically my lights in the ceiling can operate in 3 mode. So, 3 or 4, it doesn't matter, but I could all of them are individual. I could just have them all operating on 3 mode, and then I'd have extra channels. So I don't really think that's the issue, but I'm willing to try anything at this point because I just want it to work. And I want to be able to then program in Companion X keys to send a up command and a down command, and Bob's your uncle. I can move that camera before, after, or during our productions, which would be really, really cool. So, all right, let me catch up in the chat because you guys have been busy in here. I'd love to automate that move in QLab. That is the plan. Something similar to that. Tariffs, if I'm not looking forward to buying more cable soon. Yeah, I understand because they can be, it's very pricey. Man, that would be wild if this thing had SDI Ethernet power embedded into a scissor and you didn't have to bring all your own cables. Agreed. There would be a big market for it, right? Like, I'm the market right now, but I have seen this done. Now, one thing, a side note about install with this is you need to counterbalance your camera because you're going to hang your PTZ upside down, and that thread is probably not in the middle. And so when you put it upside down, the back end is going to be heavy. So what we had to do is take zip ties for now and pull the back end up and make it level, and that seemed to help. When we didn't do that, then the bricks on the back wall were like crazy angled. They were like way off. And so I was like, ooh, I can't do that except for a tight shot on the actual guitar where you can't really see that back wall. But look how, like, obviously that little pew there, that's just for show, look at the angle on that seat. It goes quite extreme. So I was still too high. The Pantograph is still too high to use anything else other than this shot, but I'm really excited that church can start and I can lower that Pantograph. In theory, I want to. But I also want two of them, and I can lower them down and get really close shots. If we put another one on the other side, then I will probably move Cam 2, because Cam 2, let's see if I can find it here. This is Cam 2, and Cam 2 is kind of in the same place where a shallow Pantograph PTZ camera would be. So this shot is kind of nice. It's a little blurry in the background. I need a better lens here, but it's a little blurry in the background. But I would love to move this camera somewhere else because it's a 6K. It's a 6K camera, and I wouldn't need it because I would have this style of shot in that location on a Pantograph. So this is actually on the Pantograph. This is Cam 3, and yeah, it's kind of cool. PowerCon True 1. I enjoy those cables. There's no such thing as a Speak On Power. It's PowerCon, and True 1 is the newer style, as Zach says. Thank you. Thank you for making sure my speech is accurate. You are correct. Again. But yes, it's that True or PowerCon Speak On style cable that twist and lock, which they're great, by the way. They're really good. Adapters to PowerCon to True 1 to Edison to IEC. Oh, wowzers. There's a whole bunch out there, apparently. If you run power over Speak On, then you should be rethinking things. Fair enough. It's a great addition to your production. It's really neat. I agree. And I don't know if we had any comments on the stream about it, but people in the soundstage were like, whoa, that's kind of cool. So right now it's just hanging, it's just down in this location, and the homeowner doesn't really care. He does, but he doesn't really. But we got to get that 20-foot ladder out to adjust it every time. And so until I can adjust it via DMX, I'm not going to move it at this point, unless he's showing the house or something. Hey, I have to run. Have a great day. Bye, Angus. Always a pleasure, man. Thanks for stopping by. Only downside that I've had issues is when you have to run new tech working, sometimes they can't tell between each of the PowerCon and the Speak On cables. Worse are jump cables when you make them. I will take your word for it. I'm sure the whole system control is OEM'd from some other company entirely. Agreed. So one lighting software company has SWIT in their library, but they don't have that one in it. They don't have this at all in their library, LightKey. But honestly, they're constantly adding to it. So if we get them the actual command list, maybe they'll be able to build it. I doubt this specific command list is going to help. but I will send it to them. 5-pin DMX exists because lighting guys don't want audio guys stealing their cables. It's true. I looked this up the other week, and they had said, yeah, 5-pin had come out so that we wouldn't get DMX and XLR cables confused, and yet everybody just started producing 3-pin DMX cables, which is a terrible idea. I mean, you know that tech guys are going to get them wrong. They're not going to read the cables. They're going to assume 3-pin is XLR. You can blow up your DMX stuff if you use an XLR cable, so buyer beware. There is that, but I hate it when I get lighting cables in my XLR. At least they get different styles of cables. DMX cables still just use 3 pins, but pins two of the pins are swapped. Exactly. And that can cause all sorts of problems. So I'm having all sorts of problems, but not ones that are, I think, cable related. I think the commands are not being sent correctly, and I'm not too sure what to do about that. So again, I'm going to do some troubleshooting. I'm quite certain that the Pantograph is working correctly as intended, because I can go up the ladder and manually adjust everything, and it all works. The power works. The adjustment works. When you plug in a DMX cable, by the way, it's really cool. The screen on it changes from manual to DMX automatically. You don't have to go in and switch commands or do anything. If you plug in a DMX cable and it has a DMX signal on it, it automatically turns on DMX mode. And I was like, all right, that's cool. I like that a lot. There are a fair number of, it's not a lot of options, but to be honest with you, I don't really want this product to be that robust in terms of feature rich. I want it to do one thing and do it really well. And I want it to lift the camera up and down. I don't want it to do anything else. You have to be careful too when you're obviously fully extended. If you get any breeze or anything, you get a bit of a swing. It's pretty stiff, but if somebody bumps it, then you're going to be waiting a while for that thing, because it's a 16-foot swing is what it is. So you want to be sure it's mounted. Our mount is extremely rigid. It's way better than the clamps that they show in the photos. Like if you were to just do like this and clamp it on a bar, this is how you do it with lighting. But if you're going to put a heavy camera on it, strongly recommend you do what we did and put like an actual wood mount. Can I go back here? Yeah, see this? Put a wood mount, put some huge lag bolts through, and tighten them down real good, and then install it rock solid like this, and you'll get very little swing. But it's a great little way to do this, and my coworker actually designed all this and thought it all through. So I'm thankful to have a guy that takes care of all of that for me, because it would have been an extra couple days of me trying to figure it out. Even better would be to have channel 2 be up and down and channel 3 for speed. Agreed. You can actually change the speed on the screen of the motor. I like it being a little slower just because I like some finesse in where it is exactly that I want it. But yes, the DMX channels could have been cleaned up a little bit. In this regard, it is on a slow setting. It's quite a good little actuation motor, and it has ramp up and ramp down. It's not a hard start, which, you know, in the early PTZ days, that was a problem. But yes, to answer, Stephen, your next question, is it smooth enough to operate the lift on a live shot? Absolutely. And that's actually something when I press the up button, it like you hear the motor, but it kind of winds up. It goes like, and the motor actually slowly starts to lift. And then when you let go, it kind of like slowly stops into position. So it's going to take a little bit of training to finesse that, but it is appropriate for a live shot. If you were to do like a slow, like coming down or a backing away shot while it's lifting, that would be really, really neat. And I'm going to try and get creative with it. Maybe not while I'm live, but try and get creative with it. Part of my job is to come up with things that make the stream look interesting. And I know that sounds kind of silly, but we don't want to get into the habit of making our live stream look like all those other live streams out there. We want it to be unique, engaging visually, obviously engaging with content, but sorry, that's my doorbell. There's a delivery. We want it to be engaging. We just want it to not necessarily just toe the line. And so that's kind of what this idea is. It's like, let's get a unit that most, church live streams wouldn't use, and let's try and get some different angles, different shots. Let's make this engaging to look at. So I'm really anxious to get the DMX piece working. That's the final piece of the puzzle. Everything else is it would be good to go. I did notice when this thing is empty, by the way. So when you have nothing on it, but you have your cables run, when you close it, it actually bows out because the cables end up stacking on each other, and then they push against each other. And so you kind of get this like weird J shape. But as soon as you put weight on it, then that J shape kind of disappears because something's pulling it down. And so just FYI, if you install it, what I did was we installed it, we ran the cables, I zipped all the cables in, and then I took it up to the ceiling because I hadn't put the camera on yet, and it did this weird like J shape, and I was like, that's going to be a problem. Then I went back up there and I pulled down, just put a little bit of weight on the actual threads, and it straightened it out, no problem. Another thing I will warn you about is, so the bottom of your camera is going to be a 20/1/4 thread, right? Standard camera stuff. First of all, put a safety cable on it, because if that thread pulls out for some reason, or that mount pulls out, or it's not welded correctly, that's going to fall on someone. So put a safety cable around it for long-term use, so that if something happens with that thread, which is not a very big thread, it will be safe. The other thing about it, though, is that the thread on the bottom of this is not that camera thread. So threads that go onto lights are bigger than that, and you're going to need to get an adapter to do it. So it's kind of neat about this unit is at the bottom of the Pantograph here, I'll show you again. See, there's like at the bottom here, there's a black like pole that sticks out, and then inside fits a male style like aluminum pole, and then it has a hole that goes through that you can put in like a cotter pin or something like that to hold it in place, which means that you can take your camera up, you can take your camera off without having to remove a whole bunch of stuff. You just pull the pin and the camera slides out. So if you want to swap out cameras, for example, you don't have to go up and like finagle it up in the ceiling. They actually, you pull the pin and you can come out. I assume you can buy more pins, which means that you could have multiple cameras lined up. And if you're doing a photo shoot or you're doing certain things that require a quick swap out, that actually makes it very convenient to do. So I like that. However, this thread, you're going to need to buy an adapter. And I can find out the exact adapter we bought because I had to look it up and see where you left off, which is here. So the unit... Oh, bummer, it didn't show up here. Go back. Search history. Let's try that one instead. Anyway, if you're interested in it, I will find that out for you. But we definitely had to buy one, and then Amazon sent us the wrong one. I think it was an M10 is what it is. And then the, I think it was an M10 to a 21/4 inch. So there you go. If you understand that lingo, that's what it was. But put the new one on. It worked right away. And then Amazon just needed to ship us the same one. We actually think that they sent us a returned unit, and then somebody didn't know sizes and they put it in the wrong bin. So there you go. That is likely the likely story of what happened. Anyway, so yeah, let's just jump back here. So this is that shot on that Pantograph. This is an angle I've never had before. One of my, I don't know how I feel about this, but this breaks the rule, the interview rule that you go, center or center right, and then your other camera is right of talent as well. This camera is obviously on the left. So I don't know for fluidity if this angle makes sense to put the talent. Oh, sorry. This angle makes sense to put the talent on screen. But for a live event, I don't think it matters. First of all, I really like this angle for the guitar. But for a live event, I don't think it really matters because it's not an interview with like 3-point lighting. It is kind of, but not really. it's better this way to have options for shots, but it does break that, we go into the other side. Now, usually in an interview video shoot, you're shooting into the dark side of the face. So you notice my lighting here, I've got dark on this side and light on this side. So my key light is here, my fill light is ahead of me, but my camera is shooting into I'm looking at the camera here, right? But my lights are all on this side, which means that the camera is shooting into the shadow side of my face. And that's kind of the proper way to, whoever made that rule, but it's kind of the proper way to do interview style lighting. And I like it for podcast lighting because it allows you to see a lot more depth, and it accentuates the dynamics of my shirt and all that stuff. For this though, we just kind of have like a wash. And so we're not shooting into the shadows of our minister's face, because unless I'm doing an interview with him, and we haven't done interview styles yet. And so this is more even lighting, which means that I don't really think that there's a side that we have to stick to until we get to interviews. But then even then, you're going to have two guys facing like this. I don't think it's going to work. So I have to think that through a bit more. But in this instance, I think I would rather have the variety of shots over worrying about that shadow rule. What I see often is a camera on each /angle and then switching to whichever one that he's walking and pacing towards. Correct. So if you have ever seen, not that we're trying to emulate this, whatever, but from a video production side, if you've ever seen like Joel Osteen, something's going on with him on stage in terms of director cues, because I think he's always talking into the camera, right? Because the majority of his audience is at home. And so just as a video production side of things, like making engaging visual content, they do a pretty good job. However, I think it's a little overproduced. It feels a little disingenuous when he's moving positions and then he's back talking into the camera. It's like they are giving him direction, or maybe there's visual cues, like we're going to that camera next. And so he'll be talking to the camera, and then he'll go to walk, and they'll go to a wide shot, and they'll follow him across the stage, and then they'll go back to him, and he's already talking into the next camera. And it's like, I don't know, like in the real world, watching somebody on stage, those people, you wouldn't know necessarily, you wouldn't be that highly coordinated. And so it does feel a little disconnected. I don't want to get to that level, but you're right. What I think is the default is we're tight on a shot, and he's either talking to the camera or talking to his audience. And then when he goes to move, we kind of do a full body, or we do a wide establishing shot. And then as soon as he gets to the other side, boom, we're back to the camera that's closest to him that can give us that tight shot again. So that is kind of the default. Yeah, okay. I don't know if that's what I want to go for or not. I don't know if that's the feel that I want to do. Right now, our plan with the way that we have it set up with our minister is he always talks into cam 1. If he's going to talk to the audience at home, he's talking at cam 1. And there's the majority of our audience is at home. That's kind of the function of our congregation. We're not a big church, in-seat church. The goal is to get the information out to to stream. That's what we're doing. So the primary goal is to stream, and the secondary service is, the house churches that are around. So he talks to the camera like an 80-20 rule, 80% to the camera, 20% to the audience, and that's on purpose. But I just said, just talk to cam 1 at all times. And then we splice in more dynamic shots, later on. So this shot, for example, he's still talking to cam 1. You can see that. But then when we go back to cam 1, boom, it's dead on. And see, he's talking to cam 1 there. So even if we go to a wide shot, or if we go to cam 5, do I ever do that here? Maybe I don't do it here. We go to cam 5 when they're singing, right? But our worship time is not really into cam 1 or any cam. So this is more about establishing, getting a little movement. That's my like dolly cam, glide cam. And so that's why we use cam 5 mostly. Do a lot of video. But yeah, these two shots, this is now cam 4, which is a little crooked now because we took one of the cameras off the mount. But cam 4 does a mid shot, full body shot, or an establishing shot. And I usually jump to an establishing shot early on in the lesson to establish time and place. So that's kind of full back. Okay, and then sometimes I'll zoom in on cam 3 just to give a full body shot. I don't know where I do that here. I'm the producer on this one that day. Do I do it during the admonition? No. Anyway, but this is cam 1. This is the home camera, and I just say, regardless of what the tally light is saying, the only time he's concerned about tally light is when it goes red to start the lesson. And so we're on Pro Presenter when we start. And actually, he missed this cue this week. So he's done playing, and he started talking right away. Well, we have like a QR code that allows people to go to Slido. We have a bumper that introduces the title of the lesson. He was talking this whole time. And so I dumped that, and I was like, I don't know what he's doing, but I'm going to go right to cam 1. Cam 1 was set up and ready to go. And so after, I try and leave this up for a while because people got to scan it. But here he is already talking. And so we missed that cue. But my only cue for him in terms of tally light is when to start. So if he's starting something, when it turns red, then start. It would have been green, which maybe he didn't check the tally light or whatever. But that's how red means go, and then when it's off, that means you're not live. So that's a way for us to kind of communicate that to him. But it's a good system so far, and as long as we kind of did something different on Sunday, and so I think the schedule also, there was a lot of pieces moving. We trained our speakers, including the guests, that way, and heavily use our tally lights, and that's the purpose. That's what they should be used for, because with 4 video venues in other cities, the majority is watching through a camera, even if not technically online. It's true. Like we have screens in the soundstage, and people at the soundstage can watch the stream live. Like it's piping iMag right to it, and we're SDI all the way through, and so there's very little to no delay. So people are seeing the production as well, and we really should have a second screen at the back that's also showing the production, but I think that'll throw people off seeing themselves on screen. Like they'll want to watch themselves, right? So one day. Interview lighting and shot rules don't really apply to a live production other than to suggest best way to frame things if they work out like that. Yeah, and I like the way that interview stuff gets framed, so we adhere to those rules generally. But yeah, where the camera is on a live production, yeah, I'm feeling less and less like that rule matters. As far as looking at the camera is concerned, as long as he's looking at both the local and remote audiences enough to keep connection and interest, you're all good. And our soundstage knows they're there to see like a behind the scenes, like the production of or how the sausage is made. For example, and I'll share this here, but my wife would probably be annoyed that I'm sharing it. On Sunday, we were going to do a lesson and then songs. And our understanding was we were going to do lesson, song, lesson, song, lesson, songs, outro. But what ended up happening was the lesson went, and then the minister decided to do all 3 songs. So my wife is the singer here. And if we scrub along here they are playing. So we go into this, and Holly gets up on stage, and then he does a little introduction to the song, and he talks about that, and then we get singing. Well, then the song goes along, and if I can just scrub to the end, it's got to be here soon. It's only like a 4-minute song. Here we go. So we finish up, we show the CCLI information, boom. So we know this is the end. And then, our minister's still playing. His name's Patrick. And so we fade to cam 1. And we are all thinking he's going to speak more. But what ended up happening behind the scenes was that he was just going to play the next song. So over in the corner, Holly's like putting her mic away. And then he kind of gives a cue like, okay, let's do the next one. So beautifully, without knowing this kind of behind the scenes information, beautifully, we just had it on him, and he organized his papers, kind of gave a, yep, let's go, and then started playing. Well, it doesn't look like Holly moved at all. So then I had cam 2. I said cam 2, which was actually run by my 11-year-old daughter. I said, get back on Holly. Actually use her full name. It's strange saying, get back on Mama. So I don't do that. But I said, okay, square up on Holly again. She squared up and back to that shot. So it actually didn't look like there was any miscommunication at all. It just looked like Patrick said, like, yep, let's go. And then they went into the next song. So from a audience standpoint, that little technical flub or miscommunication was never known. You guys get to know about it here because that's what we talk about here on the show. But, here they are playing through that song. I'll see if so this is cam 5, that little glide cam that I have. It works really well. Did I ever go back to cam? Here we go. So I do go back to cam 3, which is that close up of that guitar. I was trying really hard not to use it a lot. But here is that shot, cam 3 on the Pantograph. And you'll notice I adjusted it slightly to include the top of his guitar because it's a Taylor. It's a very expensive instrument. And it sounds and he plays it beautifully. So we wanted to kind of include the whole thing. But I don't stay there long. It's just kind of like and this type of angle. Not a stay here for a long time. If you're on that shot too long, I feel like you lose interest in the uniqueness of it. So I didn't want to do that. If you're not relying on IMAG for local audiences, he can and should be looking at the local congregation too. He is. It's 80-20 though, and mostly because our audience, the majority of our audience is at home, and so we want that connection because like there's a couple hundred people viewing and there's only 15 people in soundstage. Now he does feed off the energy of the people at the soundstage in terms of speaking. That's how, every speaker engages with their audience that way. So he does look around. Matter of fact, when he looks around, it makes for a great camera 2 shot. And so if he looks away, I really like it when he does this. He doesn't do it there. We'll go back to that one in a second. Here it is. But there's an angle where he'll look at the audience, and it's a very it's hard for me to explain it, but it feels like a very complete shot. Like he looks in it, the framing is just right. Like we have the banner, the bricks, and then when he looks over, it just kind of is more of a unique, but the shot feels very complete is the way that I want to word it. So these guys on cameras 1 and 2, you'll notice they go in and out, elbows up. Here on this shot, this is kind of a mid shot with his waist and the music stand in the shot. Cam 1 back to elbows up, and then we jump around. Sometimes I'll take camera 2 and focus on the instrument that way. What happened here? Something. And then I really like cam 5 for this little slight movement of both of them, but it shows our in-stage audience, and then we fade it out to black, boom, into I think this is communion, and then we had a video out of you guys aren't even seeing any of this. I'm so sorry. So here, elbows up, and then this mid shot with him, with the both of these shots are mid, with the music stand in the shot. Here's an elbows up from earlier, nice and tight on cam 2. And then when we are doing instruments or singing or whatever, that's that cam 5. This is the end of this song, I think. I'll jump ahead here to this communion one as well. So here, CCLI information gets posted, movement, fade to black, and then into our ProPresenter slide for communion. So it flows really well. I really like the way that it kind of works out because I feel like it gives enough variety from the limited resources we have. I don't have hundreds of cameras or hundreds of angles, and that would be way too much for me to manage anyways. But I do feel like we do a really good job of at least keeping it visually changing, and it doesn't visually get too boring. So it's good. That kind of puts us in a little different category than just fly on the wall church video, which is super boring to watch. We spend a lot of time thinking about purposefully, when do we move? Why do we move? what types of shots do we have. And my camera ops now are getting so good that I can just say, tighten up, or I can say elbows up, or I can say mid shot, or I can say full shot, and they know what those things are. Even my daughter, who's done it probably half a dozen times at this point. Okay. So as I explained earlier today, I do have to kind of hit the road. So hopefully you have enjoyed your time here. Thank you so much for hanging out with us, everybody. Nice to have a group of people to talk to and keep the chat alive. Always a blast. Thanks for listening to me gripe and complain about the DMX problems of the Pantograph that I have. But I don't think it's actually a hardware issue. I think it's signals going from the software to the hardware. So more on that as I figure that out. Hopefully in the next couple of weeks we'll have some answers. I will do some troubleshooting when I get back from Ohio. We have to go out there now today and spend a few hours in the car. So wish us luck, safe travels, all that sort of good things. And I'll be back next week. Next week I want to do a brief overview of the studio tour. And there was something else I was going to... Oh yeah, there's a couple of things that I found in my gear from when I moved that I revived and have got back onto this system. A couple of weeks ago, I talked about how this graphics card, the 4060 that I have, wasn't performing as nicely as the dual 970s that I have. And maybe that's, it was 6 gigs over 4 gigs, but this is a brand new card practically. It's only like a year old. So I was a little bit confused about that, but I did a big driver update. I found out that NVIDIA has gone away from their GeForce experience and is now a GeForce app for your computer. So I did all these updates, I ran them all, spent some time doing that, and now things are performing a lot better, so especially in the VR world. So that's been great. I do have a IR tracker, and I want to talk in a future show about that and the uses in gaming for that. To provide a bit of a review so that it can exist on my channel. So I'm going to be home for the next couple of weeks. The next show that I will miss is not until the end of the month, the 31st. So we have 3 more shows to do before I'm away again. So I'll be back next week. We're going to do a studio tour. I want to do the IR tracking series, or the IR tracking show. And that's like, whether you're interested or not, I just want to have that content on my page. So I want to do that. And then I'm open to other options, other suggestions, and we can continue to share stories from the road. And, of course, updates on the DMX stuff. We got to get that sorted out and fixed and working. I don't want to lose momentum on that. And, of course, if you only do things once a week, it can kind of run a bit slow. But all good, all good. So take care of yourselves, everybody. Thank you so much. I'm about to hit the road. I'll be gone for a couple of days. We'll be back on Saturday night, and hopefully I'll recover Saturday and Sunday and Monday, and we'll be in good working order in a week from now on Thursday. I'll share stories from the road on that one as well. So take care of yourselves, everybody. Thank you so much for coming along, and we'll see you guys in a week. I look forward to it. Take care of yourselves. Bye.